top of the government could mean a delay to a major overhaul of UK gambling laws, including the proposals being considered as a ban on betting companies sponsoring Premier League football teams.
Well, former England player Paul Merson lost £7 million to his gambling addiction, and he is calling on the clubs themselves now to ditch betting firm sponsors in a bid to help people like him. And joins us now. Paul, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Do you think that the sponsorship of the shirts actually has an impact on fans? I mean, presumably that's the point behind the betting sponsors.
Yeah, I would say so. You know, you talk about the big six, you know, your Man City, Man United, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, Liverpool. They don't have betting companies on their shirts, and they're the biggest six. They're probably the six biggest clubs
my club from
in the
this
world.
season.
Exactly. You know, you're talking about the biggest product in the world. The Premier League is the absolute ultimate. It goes all around the world. I don't know a company that wouldn't want their name on the shirt. I think it's quite lazy, really. I think it's quite lazy by the clubs. That there's loads of people out there that will want to be on the shirt of a Premier League club. Every company in the world, I would have thought.
But what I'm asking, and that may or may not be the case. Obviously, they go to the betting sponsors because they do offer the money, you know, that's needed. But I just wonder whether there is a link between the two. You obviously think there is, and the government maybe thought that there was.
Personally, for the club, I think there is. For the club, I think if your club's sponsored by a certain betting brand, you're going to bet with that betting brand.
Really?
Yeah, I would have said 70-80% of the time, yeah.
What were the major...
I mean, a lot of the clubs that are doing it, I mean, you wouldn't even really know them, would you? I mean, the big three, you know, William Hill, Corals and Ladbrokes and probably Paddy Power on the streets, they don't sponsor. They don't sponsor.
So what
they do, though, is adverts at half-time. You watch the Premier League game.
Ed, I don't mind that. I don't got a problem with that.
Doesn't that reach far more people?
I think it's irrelevant, though, isn't it? I think it's irrelevant. I think if there's a live game on Sky or on ITV and at half-time an advert comes on, I don't see a problem with it. I'm a compulsive recovering addict. I understand. I can get ready. I can turn it off, go and make a cup of coffee or whatever. You know, I can listen to a radio station. I won't name the radio station, but I'm getting quite old, so I listen to a certain radio station. I could be listening to that at 7 o'clock in the morning, and after a song, a gambling advert comes on. And you think, well, wait there a minute. I'm listening to a 70s radio station here, 80s radio station, and an advert comes on. I think that's where it's wrong.
So you don't mind the adverts on the television, but you do mind them on the radio, is that?
Yeah, well, at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, I think it's irrelevant. You know, I think if there's a live game on, a lot of people can gamble. There's more people that can gamble than that can't gamble. So I'm not one of them people who want to stop gambling forever. No.
Paul, what were the triggers for you? What were the things that made you go, I'm going to go and place a bet?
My addiction, really. It's just me. It was just me. I didn't have to be told. Really? I didn't have to be told. But as a recovering addict, there's triggers. I get triggers. As I say, on the radio station, you know, I could be driving along and then someone goes, oh, Man United v live tonight, Man United v Soundside, Man United evens. That's the trigger for me. Even nearly 2 years on, I still get that. I could still get that. Really, evens. Is it worth it?
And how do you stop that when you feel it?
Well, I've got a company coming at like a platform or website, whatever we want to call it, called Recovolution now, where it's a 24/7. You know, with addiction, there's no time. You know, it doesn't say, oh well, no. If you're going to have worrying times, have them between 9 and 5 when you're busy. You know, it might be 2 o'clock in the morning where, you know, I could wake up with anxiety and, you know, even today still think, you know, I need a bet, you know, I need something to get me out the way I feel. And it is just to get me out the way I feel.
So are you able to call someone?
And this is what this does. It's 24/7.
Right.
It connects you with other recovering addicts or recovering people around the world. You know, if I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm panicky, who do I talk to? It's very hard to go and ring someone at 2 o'clock in the morning in England. You go on Recovolution, you go on the platform, and you can connect with people. It might be someone in America, it might be someone in China. You know, it's a different time of day there, and it's connecting. The most important for me is talking and being around people in recovery.
Paul, we know at the moment there's a cost of living crisis. People are really under pressure with their budgets, and sometimes that can lead people to to try and gamble, to try and solve a problem. Also, if people get into trouble now with gambling, harder to deal with it. If you're worried about a family member or a friend who you think is gambling too much, what should you do? And what message would you send to people who are thinking maybe gambling could get me out of a difficult situation in my life with my budgets and the family bills?
I've a million times I've done that, you know, where it's got tight and thought, you know what, I'm going to try and get myself out of trouble with by gambling, which is not the solution. It isn't the solution, but it's, you know, people that are gambling too much, drinking, whatever addiction, you're ill. It's an illness. You know, I'm fed up with people. I think that there's a stigma about this still. I think it's over 50% of people wouldn't go out with someone who has an addiction. You know, that's been done where people have said that. You know, it's an illness and people need to get well. You know, and that's the most important thing. It's like if someone said to me now I've got a nut allergy, I wouldn't eat nuts, and that's why I can't gamble or drink, because I'm ill. As soon as I start drinking or gambling, I cannot tell you when I'm ever going to stop.
Yeah. Thank you,
Honestly,
Paul.
I mean, Paul, it's awful what you've been through, but it's brilliant that you speak out about it, because it genuinely helps people to understand what it feels like. Let's just focus on some football. The Women's Euros. Lionesses are doing incredibly well.
Very well.
Sean is a little bit worried about the expectation now on their shoulders.
I like that, Sean. I'm with you, Sean. I'm with you. I think it's, I feel sorry for Northern Ireland, if I'm being honest. I worry for them in the next game. But yeah, I mean, if the people that watch the women's game, and I do watch quite a bit of it, you know, this wasn't a foregone conclusion yesterday. This was a hard game against Norway. It wasn't a game where you'd expect to go and win 5-6, 7-0. This was a hard game, and to go and do what they did was amazing. Got to keep themselves, you know, there's some good teams waiting for England.
Meanwhile, we've been talking about whether the temperatures could become too hot to operate in. The World Cup in Qatar is not going to be cool. What do you make of that competition? Are you excited about it?
I'm always excited about the World Cup. I love football, so the World Cup's the ultimate. It's like, for an athlete, it's like the Olympics. But it doesn't sit well with me with it being over there, you know, especially being in November. You know, since I was a little kid, and I can remember my first World Cup was probably 82 was my favourite World Cup, and here, you know, we stopped the season to play over there. I just don't like what's happened, you know. So
it's the disruption to the domestic game that...
Yeah, but not just that. I mean, it's in a... You know, it's going to be boiling hot over there. It's going to be hard for fans to get over there. You know, we're not thinking of the fans, you know. I dread to think how many people have been sacked before this and it's still going on over there. You know, I just don't... I don't get it, if I'm being honest. And it's a bit of... You know, the weather situation's not good. It's not good. It's all right saying we've got air-conditioned stadiums, but... You know, it's the players that are going to be playing. And I was over in the America one in '94, and I went and I liked the sun. And I watched Ireland against Mexico, and it was hard. It was hard watching. So to play in it was ridiculous.
Thank you, Paul. You've talked so powerfully about the struggles that you've had. You did an interview, I remember last year, where you said, I've been so much better at football than at life. But actually, you're an Arsenal legend. You've used your post-football life to make a huge difference for people around the country. I think it's hugely appreciated. And
I appreciate it.
That's...
well, if it helps one person today, it's done a job, in my opinion.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
If you've been affected by any of these issues, you can find advice and support at itv.com/helplines. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Thank you, Susan.